What's going on, creators? Just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate you being here and vibing with me for a bit. I'd just like to continue kind of the discussion on, embodying the state of, for this example of you've already made it. There's this like kind of this trick that we can get into in our mind of like always putting the success or whatever the goal is to some future vision, some future state that is never actually real, and really making the present moment where is the focus of your attention, and with that, taking things as it comes, but also embodying the state that whatever your effort is, whatever your plan is, whatever your vision is, however you think that will make you feel. If it's abundant, if it's prosperous, if it's healthy, all of these things kind of go together, especially when you start looking at these states of consciousness almost as a person. It's like, health being a person, or prosperity being a person, abundance being a person, and kind of, instead of just, mental labels, and seeing how maybe if something is lacking in your life, maybe money, maybe it's like you're double-minded about it, where it's like on one hand, you want it, but on the other there's a bunch of programming and resistance, the shit from childhood, and people are greedy and evil that have it, and all these things, and ultimately a lot of this stuff is not even real or true. It's just shit that we've been told, and maybe your personal experience shows you that. But the thing I've experienced is, as you change your inner beliefs, as you change your inner assumptions, and really kind of walk the path of faith, the more malleable and the more, the more, I don't know, situations, circumstances, people, events start to echo these mental changes. If you're into kind of the law of attraction vibe, or the thoughts becoming things vibe, or maybe not Neville Goddard. There's many of these kind of laws of cause and effect. So many of them are also biblical. If you reaping and sowing and stuff like that. There's just kind of laws of consciousness, and the more that you add value, the more the way you can define value is love. The more love you inject into your business, your customers, your life in general. It's always about, are you doing that now? Or are you in a state of panic and fear, and I'm in red alert worst case scenario manifesting, these kind of dramas and everything else. It's like really looking at what you're doing things for. Are you just looking for some external validation? It's like, if you're growing your business, are you doing it just for so that you can stand on a pedestal for others to kind of look at? Or are you doing it to for your community? Are you going to do it for your family? Are you doing, what are your reasons? I'm not going to judge any of them as being wrong. If you just want to make a shitload of money just to do it, go for it. Do it. There's so much good that you can do. If you have it, you can bless others with it. You can bless your family with it. You can bless yourself with it. And the thing, I've found is like, as you're kind of putting it out there, it's almost like a hose that you can drink out of, as you kind of tap into that flow, tap into that energy, and realize it's not an external thing. It's so much of it is your concept of self, and your concept of worthiness, and your concept of there's a lot of baggage going on with everything that's going on in your space. All of it is really an externalization of you in so many different ways. But when you're in this idea of, in the future then I'll be successful, in the future, these goals that we have, these things that we tell ourselves, it's like, in the future, I'll grind and I'll suffer and I'll sacrifice the present moment for some imaginary payday, some imaginary payoff, instead of that works temporarily. And for some, business creators, they go through years of that, of just grinding, working every single day from sun up to sundown, maybe taking Sundays off, maybe not, being available all the time, your phone going off, I'll get on it, I'm just going to do these things. And I don't, so it's like you might be putting a lot of effort and energy in trying to wrestle it to the ground, but you're not really using the laws of consciousness, that using what you can learn through experience as being reality. When it comes to like the law of assumption, or the law of attraction and the law of assumption, the law of cause and effect. There's a lot of these different types of vibes, but it boils down to how well are you focusing on your faith. It boils down to your faith. It's like if you believe you have to wrestle it to the ground physically to make it work, yeah, that's probably going to be what you experience. But the more that you can start using your faith to help guide you in the present moment, and that's where a lot of this is really stemming from. If you come up with these repeating dramas, these repeating troubles, these repeating, and it echoes through different people. And if you notice these same reoccurring themes in your life, maybe your creation when it comes to like self-employment or business is a 10, but maybe your marriage is like a fucking shit show, a 2. Maybe your family, your relationship with your kids is like a 1. So it's like trying to get all these things more. When you're defining you've made it in the present moment, it's like what would that feel like to have that balance? Who would you be? So much of this is about identity, and even for those that have an issue, like even talking about money, it's like if you're that triggered by even the mention of it, then you're a slave to it. If you can't talk about things without getting triggered, then you're a slave to it, and so it's like getting over these hang-ups. You're too attached to it. There's too much resistance to it. You're too double-minded about it. And there's it's obvious like why it is what it is in your space, but the more that you realize that it's a reflection, like a mirror, to how you feel worthy, or how you feel because you can have the opposite. You feel in scarcity unconsciously, and that gets to be kind of what you steward. Begins to be your what your bubble of reality kind of is. And then you see these situations, circumstances, events, people, all these things kind of echoing that back to you. More and more scarcity. Oh, it's not enoughness. There's these types of weird competitiveness and stuff like that. But when you start shifting more out of like kind of listening to the ego mind and fear, ultimately that's a big red flag characteristic of the ego mind is the fear factor, and start moving in a different direction, doing the opposite, intentionally choosing love instead. There's the resistance initially in the mind, but as you start doing new things, you start thinking new things, as you start experiencing new things, and your vision for what's possible starts to become bigger and bigger. And so one of the first moves is letting the old man go, that may be having all these baggages and all these limiting beliefs and all these fears and all these programs and scripts about everything, and moving in a new direction. And that starts in the present moment. So it's like when you have that vision of like in music, there's like the you made it, but there's also that same vibe in like business, where it's like you go from like survival mode to thriving, or it's shifting from that scarcity to abundance. It's that the same thing with your health. If you just go from being out of shape to in shape, and you kind of look at the old version of you that was out of shape, it basically is representing, embodying that state of consciousness. But as you start maybe working out, you start thinking different things, and you start maybe you're doing something like smoking cigarettes. I smoked cigarettes for years, and a lot of times I'd have like health, and it wasn't like that for a while. But then once that started hitting my consciousness, there's like the health concerns of that, eventually it led to every time of smoking, just thinking, oh, this is going to make me fill in the blank. And so letting that go. But then also like replacing some of these mental habits, these addictive patterns that we do to try to feel good, and really focusing on feeling good now, enjoying what there is to steward. And it's like that with my business at the moment. I just got another lead on a new kind of recruitment option, for my business, because I'm looking for some help, and so that's starting to come back. More and more interest, more and more prospects, more and more things that are coming up, which is exciting. So it's starting to manifest more and more. Another way to kind of look at that is like waiting for the reality to catch up to the vision, and seeing that happen over and over and over again. It's like it gets you to this kind of state where it's like other people's opinions on whether things are working for you or not working for us. Like, I'm telling you something as a person that this is working reliably. It just is a repeatable thing. It just requires you to try it for yourself and do it and stand in your own faith. And that might be where it becomes an issue, because a lot of times you get the taking no action kind of vibe. And that may be effective for some people. I'm not going to I don't know, who am I to tell you what to do and what not to do. This is just what I'm doing. And as I kind of do, through the doing of things, kind of just stammer through it, you learn lessons, I just tell my stepdaughter today, it's like there is no such thing as failure. You just learn ways that either somewhat worked or could, this could have been, we could have done that better. This could have been easier if we, drop these steps. And then next time when that comes up and, you have a similar thing, you can try it again and try it again and try it again. It's so much of like, I don't know, creating, anything is just repetition over and over again. You're playing an instrument, it's playing repetition. Doing a business, repetition. Disciplining kids, raising a family, repetition. Learning how to cook, repetition. Everything. You get better and better at it the more you do it. Doing YouTube. How many videos do you make? And they, you just see the progression. And that's part of the fun, is you start seeing the progression and enjoying the flow of the progression, but not having it be like there's some magical you made it moment. Because there's always somebody that's a better guitar player. There's always somebody with more money. There's always somebody with better health. There's always, and not to look at that and be envious, but to look at that as a milestone, a new person hitting your radar with something that can add to you and your vision, your imagination, your faith. You learn, it's like, well, that person did it. If that person can do it, you can do it too. It's the same thing as like with any type of leadership kind of position. As you embody that state now, you are the leader. That's part of like that identity. And some people don't want that responsibility, and that's fine. You don't have to want it. It doesn't matter what, do what makes you happy. For me, creating things is fun. It's something to do. And it's, there's a time, and, just kind of coming out of that where it's just, we're doing a lot of soul searching and mental cleanup and well-being kind of work and stuff like that. But you start to grow into, okay, well, now I'm spending most of my day in flow. I'm enjoying life. I wake up and excited. It's fun. And then you start seeing like the seeds that you planted starting to grow and come back, and it's getting more and more expansive, and the vision gets more and more expansive, and it's like, you kind of want to share that with others, but then at the same time, you don't need other people's approval either. There's like nothing stopping you from doing that. And pursuing your dreams, pursuing your goals. And as someone who's actively doing that as well, realizing that, things are not Newtonian. Things work quantumly, through vibration, energy, frequency. Jesus lives inside of us, and so, connecting in that faith, you realize that because you're connected to that energy, you're one with it, and so it comes to you as you embody it, as you embody that identity that God created you to be. I don't know what that is for you. Everybody's unique and different, and so whatever that inner dream is, dream huge, dream big, because God said nothing is impossible. And so really putting your spiritual evolution, focusing on that, and then you do that in the present moment. That's when you feel love, and it's like you feel those good vibes. You feel that now, or you can be thinking things of scarcity or fear. Ultimately, it's there's only one of two choices: fear or love. Most of us know what fear is more than what love is, because we have embodied that in the old man. But as we put on the new, and it's like, okay, well, the old man was like filled with fear, filled with thinking everything, everybody was out to get you. You're a victim, that you got to fight and everything else against some existential threat. And maybe some people thrive with that, on that battling back and forth, But you almost get to a point where it's like, well, what is actually important to me? What do I, if I can do anything, what do I really want to do? There becomes a point where I think everybody kind of has to reach that on their own, where through the doing, through the trying, and through growing the faith, your faith is more valuable than anything, because everything starts to conform to what your faith is, what you're embodying, especially as you let go of the old stories that we used to tell ourselves, getting more into the new creation that you are. And and who is that? You get to decide that. It's between you and God what that is. If God gave you the dream, God also gave you the means and the ways to do it. And just trusting that God's already gave it to you, that it's unfolding perfectly right now in the moment. Holding on to that peace. So you don't got to worry about it. Everything that's happening is for your benefit, for your good. It's going to teach you something that is going to be useful to help you expand, to match your vision. So once you come to almost like a vibrational match to it, is one way to think about it. Again, money's like a good example, because even if you hate money, you have a identity around it. It's like you might be a $30,000 a year guy. And you've decided that you made that your identity. You could be a $50,000. All of it's relative. All of it really doesn't even really matter. It's just what you have chosen for yourself. But you can choose again. You can choose anything. You can choose to give it all away. Or you can choose to make a bunch. But whether you are consciously aware of it or not, and that's what I guess the point is. It's like a lot of people have unconsciously made that identity, not knowing any better, because maybe they picked it up from their parents, maybe they picked it up from their friends, the group of people that they hang around with. Maybe that has shaped their identity around who they believe themselves to be, and so many facets of that has to do with your identity. And as you kind of look around at what you got to steward, you'll realize that having more added is not going to equal out to more well-being, because your well-being that you've made it is now, but be able to hold on to that now and enjoy the ride. So, and this is coming from someone who faces their fair share of drama every time. It seems like every time doing a job, there's some drama. But, not saying that that's going to be like that forever, just looking at ways to get that more and more smooth, more and more in flow, more and more at peace, more and more of a joy for not only myself, but for my customers, hopefully for my employees, that can start to shape maybe a culture of people to really reach their potential. And grow together as a group, as a town, as a community. And it's like, there could be a giant, like I was just watching, something on, making a business plan, because I was really kind of trying to do that, get better at that, just because, just because I want to at the moment. And it has to do with a lot of it is like, okay, well, for the cafe, hitting certain monetary, doubling goals, to finance the cafe, so and then with that kind of creative problem solving to kind of double it and everything else. But I think my dog's bouncing around back there. But like, looking at everything and coming up with like kind of a plan that involves, you know, evolving identity, along those lines. And it's like a good way. And I think I talked about this last time, like in skateboarding, it's like you break things down into doable numbers or doable tasks. It's like that are just a hair above where you feel comfortable. And in that growth, you realize that you're reaching a wall of resistance, or another way, some fear, has crept up that's keeping you from reaching that next level. And your identity is on the other side of that resistance anyway, because that represents fear, which is a state of consciousness that you're not fear. And so when you reach this different milestone, breaking it down into a tangible thing doesn't mean that you'll never be able to hit that big milestone. Like in skateboarding, if you're used to doing ledges and stuff like that and doing like an ollie, which looks like this, where you like just kind of jump with the board, if you're only doing that, on like 3 stairs and you feel comfortable with that, well, maybe a 6th stair, or you come up to it and it's like, oh, that's not super steep. I think I might be able to do that, where then the wheels start turning, and then you try it. So much of skateboarding is trial and error, because you might do a trick a dozen times before you finally stick it and land it. And in that dozen attempts, you're really working on that the inner struggle more than anything, because a lot of it is kicking out and not committing to it because of fear, until you start to realize that you're hurting yourself more by kicking the board away or just not committing, versus if you just honestly just try to stick it and land it. And like you might come across like a 12 stair or something, and you just landed it on a 6. Maybe 12 is your bigger vision. Well, you're not going to go from a 3 to a 12. There's some kind of momentum that needs to be built in between, where you build your confidence and realize that it's possible. Convince yourself, to grow that faith that it's possible that you can do that. And so much of this thing is realizing that you can do it. It's possible for you to do. You just have to try it. You have to go for it and stand in that faith and just do it. Do your best and go for it. And like, I'm not telling anybody to change or conform. I'm trying to encourage you. If your soul is screaming out, I need to be doing something different with my life, now's the time. Or if you've been grinding and struggling with make it a business, but now it's just you almost hate it because it just is so much drama. It might be successful, but it's just so much drama and just sucking your energy, and you just can't stand it. You want to sell it or something, but being able to get inner peace and joy, and enjoy the process of having a business, enjoy the the flow, and really kind of focusing on the value. We'll put value as just another word for love, and like the more love you put out, the more attention you put on your products. Is attention and love's very similar, really, if you think about it. If you're not putting human attention towards something, you're neglecting it. That's almost abandoning it. It's just another way to look at it. That might be maybe some resistance if you think of it in a different way. Maybe this way is easier to think of it without the resistance. But like I just wanted to bring that to you guys' attention, to embody that you made it moment, to you made it now. I mean, you did it by making up the decision to pursue your new life, the life that God's given you, not the life that man's given you, the limitations, the fear, the horse shit. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this new. And I just want to share that with you guys. So for the ones that are actually doing it and going for it, I love to hear what you're doing in the comments and everything. That's exciting. I'm excited to kind of network with you guys and share my perspective, and hopefully it helps you grow in yours. I'm not telling you to mirror what I'm doing, but this is just like a puzzle piece for me, and this is working for me. And so hopefully you can take it, build on it, and do it better, and then send me a link to your channel, and we can so I can watch what you're doing, so I can grow too. And so with that being said, I'm going to bounce. So thanks everybody for listening, and have a good rest of your now, and God bless.